Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode, we are talking about the College of Glamour Bard. This is going to round out our Feywild adventure, where we discuss classes that really fit in well to a Fey kind of scenario, and we're really dastardly about it. If you like what we do here, please like, share, and subscribe. Keep commenting. We love to hear the stories of the characters you've played, the builds you've used, and some of the other things you got to do in your games and how awesome they were. Love to hear it. So please keep doing that. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into the video. The College of Glamour Bard comes to us from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This particularly had a couple of things about its flavor text that I really wanted to read out. The first part of it was, the College of Glamour is home to bards who master their craft in the vibrant realm of the Feywild, under the tutelage of someone who dwelled there, tutored by satyrs, eladrin, or other Fey. These bards learn to use their magic to delight and captivate others. So right there is the Feywild connection we've been talking about. It is great to notice that they put in satyrs and eladrin and other Fey to really kind of give you a reason to bridge your character into something involving the Feywild. It's a great idea, especially if you don't really fully have a concept decided for a character that would be a College of Glamour Bard. It's a great way to pull your connection to something and give your DM something to work with to help, entice you into certain things, or maybe it's a hook for your character. It's a good thing to really read through these things and give yourselves these options or talk to your DMs about it. The other thing that I think really fits us is this second part here. The bards of this college are regarded with a mixture of awe and fear. Their performances are the stuff of legend. These bards are so eloquent that a speech or song that one of them performs can cause captures to release the bard unharmed and can lull a furious dragon into complacency. The same magic that allows them to quell beasts can also bend minds. Villainous bards of this college can leech off a community for weeks, abusing their magic to turn hosts into thralls. Heroic bards of this college instead use their power to gladden the downtrodden and undermine oppressors. So right there, it gives you this great idea for being a villainous kind of a bard. It is this idea that you're going to use this power of glamour and this wonderful, wonderful engagement you have with people for personal gain and to corrupt and control others. It is a great setup for using abilities like this, and it often gets glossed over as this idea that this is the most bard-like bard there is, so you never really understand this concept of the most evilest bard it could be, or an evil bard, because everyone thinks of this as a great way to just add on top of some of the abilities they already have. At 3rd level, you gain access to Mantle of Inspiration. You gain the ability to weave a song of fave magic that imbues your allies with vigor and speed. As a bonus action, you can expend one use of your bardic inspiration to grant yourself a wondrous appearance. When you do so, choose a number of creatures you can see who can see you within 60 feet of you. You can choose a number of creatures up to your charisma modifier. Each of them gains 5 temporary HP. When a creature gains this HP, it can immediately use its reaction to move up to its speed without provoking opportunity attacks. The number of temporary HP increases when you reach certain levels, to 8 HP at 5th level, 11 at 10th, and 14 at 15th. It's a little bit to unpack here, but understand it doesn't necessarily have to be used on your allies. You can use it on anyone, as long as they are a creature. Which is great. It does give you a few more options into doing things. Maybe you have an enemy that you kind of need to save temporarily. Maybe you have an NPC that isn't really your friend, but you do think is valuable to save their life. This is a great way to do so. This is a great way to just give a little bit of damage mitigation to your party. Again, 8 temporary HP at 5th level isn't a huge amount, but it will be a great defensive boon when someone important gets hit or has taken a lot of damage and you really have no other way to heal them up. Also, depending on how your party works and the type of party you have, moving your positioning of your players in combat can be very beneficial. If you have a tactical mind, the things that you can do are great. You can have party members rush in, wait for you to use this, and then use the reaction and back out, and then you might be able to use an AoE attack. You might be able to have wizards throw fireballs, entangles, and they all fell for it because they all charged your party that ran up in front. Like, it's a great way to toy with the battlefield and give you a couple of options. This is something that you might want to, out of game, talk to your party members about and your inspiration for wanting to use it, and let them know that if they do catch this to go on, maybe this is an opportunity for them to do something. It's also a great escape plan for a lot of your players in case things do go wrong. Also, at 3rd level, you gain access to Enthralling Performance. If you perform for at least 1 minute, you can attempt to inspire wonder in your audience by singing, reciting a poem, or dancing. At the end of your performance, choose a number of humanoids within 60 feet of you who watched and listened to all of it, up to a number equal to your charisma modifier. Each target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or be charmed by you. While charmed in this way, the target idolizes you. It speaks glowing of you to anyone who speaks to it, and it hinders anyone who oppresses you, avoiding violence unless it was already inclined to fight on your behalf. The effect ends on a target after 1 hour if it takes any damage, if you attack it, or if it witnesses you attacking or damaging any of its allies. If a target succeeds on the saving throw, the target has no hint you tried to charm it. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or a long rest. This is a very powerful tool. And the reason why is because if you need certain people to sway other people to do things for you, this is how you do it. If you can get it to happen to the character that you are trying to get to do things for you, fantastic. If you can't, getting very powerful people who influence them is very important. Depending on the nature of your game, if you're in a very political intrigue kind of a game, very heavy role-playing kind of a game, this ability will get you so much you have no idea. When that flavor text mentioned feeding off of a town for a period of time and turning its hosts into thralls, this is kind of how it works. Like, it speaks glowing of you and it idolizes you. Think about how strong that is when someone idolizes you. You've seen fans of people do crazy things. Those are now yours. And I say this all the time, and this is something you definitely need to talk to your team about when it comes to charm and people fighting on your behalf. A soldier is inclined to fight. A bully, a mobster, a bandit is inclined to fight. These are things that they do naturally. So I would really understand that being very reasonable, that they would be inclined to fight. They fight for anything. They fight for gold. They'll fight for whatever if it benefits them. And protecting their idol would benefit them. So I think there's a good argument for that, and maybe you're in a scenario where you see a whole bunch of soldiers around and you decide to perform. And get a couple of the really strong ones to just follow you around and help you fight or sneak around in the camp or something. Depending on what you're doing, this is a great way to get access to things you're really not supposed to. This is a very dangerous thing for players to have that are creative and gutsy. If you're willing to risk it for the biscuit and you have this ability, you will be a devastating thorn in your DM's plans, because social encounters are dangerous. Singing, reciting a poem, dancing. I'm pretty sure if you just did magic tricks for a minute, that'll count. I think that's just flavor text. But there's a great way to control a lot of circumstances and arguments and free yourself from being imprisoned by an enthralling performance. At 6th level, you gain access to Mantle of Majesty. You gain the ability to cloak yourself in fey magic that makes others want to serve you. As a bonus action, you cast a command spell without expending a spell slot, and you take on an appearance of unearthly beauty for a minute. or until your concentration ends, as if you were concentrating on a spell. During this time, you can cast Command as a bonus action on each of your turns without expending a spell slot. Any creature charmed by you automatically fails its saving throw against the command you cast with this feature. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Command! It is a very interesting spell because you can only use one word to really command them with. Halt, drop, flee, grovel. Those are the suggested abilities that you can do with this spell. Depends on your DM. I would talk to some of these things out. I would really want to understand that if I said dance, it would just dance. If I said climb, it would just climb the closest thing to it. If I said jump, it would just jump for a minute. Like, it's very easy to make it a joke, make it laughable, undress, have them just start trying to take off their armor. Like, it's hysterical. You're making a mockery out of whoever you cast this on, and you can cast it every turn as a bonus action. So you have your regular action to do whatever you want with. Understand the rules of casting a spell are still in effect. You cannot cast a spell unless you're casting a cantrip and an actual spell that costs a spell slot. This doesn't cost a spell slot, but that does not remove the effect that it is the command spell. So it is a bonus action, and you do have a couple of other actions you can take. So make sure you understand that before you go crazy with this. It's a great way to mock certain people. It's a great way to turn a very terrifying enemy on the battlefield into a joke. If you happen to get this on a character and you happen to be able to put a disabiliting debuff on them that makes their saving throws with disadvantage or anything that would reduce that, this is wonderful. This is something great that you can continuously debilitate them with. At higher levels, this is awesome because you throw this on and you will burn through legendary resistance very quickly, making the enemies you face more susceptible to actual spells, which is a huge boon for you and your party. Offensively, that's kind of what it's made for. You're supposed to laugh at your enemy. They're a joke to you. They had the audacity of talking to a Feywild and just trying to do anything to them or trying to hinder your great destiny. And in return, you mock them. You can make them lick the ground. You can make them shine shoes. You can make them do things, but make sure your idea of how you use this spell is balanced by what your character is. If you are evil, then doing things that would be embarrassing, debilitating to them, especially to powerful people, will feel incredible to you. It'll be this great majestic thing where it just empowers you just to grow and use more powers to corrupt even bigger people. You get this great mischievous entity to you because you can make kings walk on their hands. Like, you can make kings jump and dance and be laughed at in front of all of their enemies and ruin their ability to handle any scenario and make them a joke. And that can affect the gameplay. That can affect how leaders see their enemies. If you're in a scenario where you see like orcs or something and their leader is this big powerful person and you said duck and they started quacking, the rest of the tribe is going to laugh at them. And they can't follow this orc anymore. This orc isn't strong enough to lead them. Look at how he danced. Look at how he acts like an animal. These things would change what's going on the battlefield. These things would change the results of, like, how do you follow a leader like that? And these things are great and they're fun, and your role-playing scenarios, this decimates it, because command, and I learned this from playing with another character, is just a verbal component. You can really just say the word, and it's very hard to depict that it actually happened. It's very dangerous to notice that. You have to really sense ethereal presence around you and maybe magical residue, because it's not like a beam shoots from your eyes to theirs. You say the word and they just go, and they do it. So the layperson really wouldn't be keen to that happening. It's a great way to use magic in subtle ways to get what you want to happen. Someone locks the door, you immediately cast command, open, and they open the door. Walk away, or walk, and they just start walking. Flee, or they run away. Having a big vocabulary is a benefit here. Your creativity really shines with a spell like this, and the ability to cast it every round for a minute as a bonus action gives you your regular action and gives you a lot of things that you can do. The only thing that hinders you is your inability to actually toy with this ability. This scenario where you're just not ready to use it, or you want to save it for something, or maybe you just don't feel comfortable using it. The more times you do, the more successes you have with it, the more you'll see the value of what this ability does. At 14th level, you gain access to the final College of Glamour Bard ability, which is Unbreakable Majesty. Your appearance permanently gains an otherworldly aspect that makes you look more lovely and fierce. In addition, as a bonus action, you can assume a magical majestic presence for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. For the duration, whenever any creature tries to attack you for the first time on a turn, the attacker must make a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, it can't attack you on this turn, and it must choose a new target for its attack, or the attack is wasted. On a successful save, it can attack you this turn, but it has disadvantage on any saving throws it makes against your spells on your next turn. Once you assume this majestic presence, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. A couple of things to unpack here. First and foremost, this ability does not limit to once a creature succeeds, they don't ever have to make this, they're not susceptible to this ability ever again. It's constantly on. They constantly have to make this ability check, this saving throw against your spell save DC every turn for that minute. If there are 6 monsters in whatever scenario you're in and they all attack you, all 6 of them have to make this saving throw on their first attack, which is great. As a defensive ability, this is incredible. So say they actually make the save and they actually do have the availability to hit you. It doesn't mean they do, because you have a bunch of other things you might do to up your AC. Maybe you picked up shield. This is not a spell, so you do have that reaction, and it is a bonus action, so maybe you cast something like a cantrip or a weapon attack or something, in which case you still have a spell available. It doesn't remove the ability that they get disadvantage on a saving throw against a spell you make on your next turn. Here's what's important. This can work with Mantle of Majesty. Understand that Unbreakable Majesty isn't a concentration, and it isn't a spell. So you can cast spells once you've put this on. And it's great that if they are able to hit you, or break through the save, and make the attempt to hit you, I should say, they now have disadvantage on a saving throw against the next spell you cast against it. It could be any spell. It could be anyone you choose, and they have disadvantage on it. A great way is to break concentration, legendary resistance really, by using command constantly. And then once it's finally gone and they have disadvantage and it's a straight roll, you can now hit them with something serious, something really debilitating, that could really change the tide of battle. It's an awesome ability. But what most people kind of gloss over and don't really take into consideration is that your appearance permanently gains an otherworldly aspect that makes you look more lovely and fierce. Look, it's the real world, the more attractive you are, the easier it is to persuade people. The more fierce looking you are, the easier it is to intimidate people. You gain a more lovely and fierce aspect permanently. I think that should really affect your rolls with charisma for persuasion, intimidation, deception. I think all of that should really be a factor, because being just more hot or scary and like at the same time doesn't really add up to what that actually means. Like elves are very pretty entities, so you make that even more lovely and fierce. Talking to a regular person, it's got to be like standing in front of like this bright light of beauty and danger. Like that's got to affect how you interact with that person. I think it's important to notice, and I think it's a really good idea for DMs to really incorporate that some way or somehow, because NPCs are going to be seeing you. They're going to be sent at 14th level. NPCs are going to be looking for you for help and seeking you out, because you're heroes at this point. You've saved areas. You're renowned for what great things you've done, and that should really reflect that. I like the idea of becoming this very beautiful and very fierce, very like dangerous, like panther-like entity, and being able to use the powers of a College of Glamour Bard to manipulate the world around me. Like, it would really send me over the top with this like glorious self-absorbed character who's just omnipotent in his own self-worth, you know what I mean? And it's just, everything is just this beautiful moment for them, because they themselves are just the perfect beautiful character, and they're so narcissistic it's almost toxic. But I think it's really fun, and you can do a lot of cool stuff with it, and I really hope that you incorporate that when you hit this level to really make your character something special. Like maybe you grow these glorious fey horns that shine like gold, that also have spikes on the side of it, like that come down and almost look like they're dripping poison. Like, it's very, very, very cool. And I really think you should incorporate things like that when you're playing your game, and use these like ribbons to really formulate what your character turns into, and not what they started out as, because this is a permanent ability that you gain. Our final thoughts on the College of Glamour Bard. The abilities that they have are incredible for social encounters. They really give you a lot of defensive bonuses, and they really give you a lot of cool tricks to play with. You are a bard. You have an incredible amount of magical abilities as a full caster. You have some other abilities that you can use, and being a full caster, being able to get things like magical secrets and abilities like that, and bardic inspiration, and just all the skill proficiencies, and jack of all trades, you're really in this world where you can really do a lot of great things and be viable in such a profound way in adventuring and role-playing. And your spell list keeps you incredibly strong in combat. So as a bard, you always had that availability to be great. Full casters have this incredible ability that the more you study your spell list and understand your spells, and the more creative you get with them, the more you can do in combat and around the world and shape the events that are occurring around you. You're never limited when you have spells, and the more spell slots you gain, like the higher level ones, the more profound that impact can be. That being said, if you really wanted to toy with the character, and really wanted to toy with the enemy and make them feel like a mouse being slapped around by a cat, or some dangerous entity playing with its food, this gives you that availability. This gives you a great setup to be so successful in manipulating people on a grander scale. So if you're a risky kind of player and you're willing to lay it all on the line and take these big chances where you're in the center of it, and if it goes bad, it goes bad, you're going to have so much fun with this subclass, because you can do a lot of that. You can put yourself right in the forefront. If you really like the bards that can perform, this is a great way to do it. If you're really creative and really evil, you can do a lot of dark things by manipulating certain scenarios for your benefit. You don't even have to make people do things they don't want. All you have to do is make people let you do what you want. And that is so dangerous, because they're never going to disagree with you, because they always say yes to you, because you've done this incredible job of taking away their freedom to do so without them knowing it. Because they're charmed, because they're enthralled, because they're commanded, because of your unspeakable majesty. You did it. You got to do whatever you wanted, and you were scot-free about it. Don't get me wrong, I know charm has its limitations, and there's only so much you can do. It's not dominate person, but these abilities bring you so close that it's really splitting hairs with what you can do. Having people idolize you. Having people just literally drop to their knees and beg to be next to you and spend more time with you and tell them that you would love to, but this entity is bothering you and you need to get away. And you want to see them again, but the only way you'll be able to see them freely and do what you love is if they help you escape. And now you just rob them blind while escaping with all their stuff, and they helped you do it. It's a creative player's dream. It's a DM's nightmare, because you can really dismantle what you're trying to do as far as story can be told and what's going on. So definitely talk to your DM about your future plans when you're playing a class like this, because you can very easily derail the campaign or cause the campaign to end up in a scenario that nobody expected or nobody was prepared for. But it's fun. This is the perfect Fae kind of character, where everything is joyous and you constantly command them to do stupid things for your enjoyment. I mean, how great would it be? You're in a scenario and this giant dragon starts charging at you, and you just tell it to juggle, and it just picks up rocks and everyone dismantles it. It's wonderful. It's hysterical. You get a lot of cool things. You can have a lot of fun, but you got to be willing to take the risk to do so. And it's great. With that, we're going to turn this video to its close, and thank you again for liking, sharing, subscribing. Please keep commenting. We love to hear from you guys. And most importantly, thank you for giving a Spooky Kid a chance.